Hey guys, Toma Tales here, and I want to talk about something today that is not easy to tackle. It's something I've had to think about for a little bit of time, and ultimately I want to make this video and talk about this very forbidden topic because of where I am now in my life. I am back living in Germany now. Let me give you guys a little overview of who I am and my upbringing. So, my mom is German, my dad is French American. I was born and raised in Germany until I was roughly 14 years old. And then from 14 years old to 24 years old, 10 years I lived in America, in Florida, in Tennessee, and a little bit in California. And about 2 months ago now, I just moved back to Germany. And so, with me living in Germany now, I'm noticing so many different aspects of life that differ so vastly from America. I've made plenty of videos on culture and, society, the way they live, the way people think. But something that I've finally thought about and processed is the topic of African Americans. Even now, on social media, you're seeing this fatigue, they call it now, the fatigue of African Americans. And I'm seeing it on social media, I'm seeing them being criticized a lot. But that's not why I'm here to make this video. I'm here to make this video because I'm in a different situation in life to where we have zero African American people, like, in Germany. Like, they don't come here, we don't have immigrants here that are African American. What we have here in Germany are real Africans, we have Muslims, we have Turkish, we have, that kind of group, ethnic group of people, but we do not have African Americans. And so with me living here now the past 2 months, I think it's interesting for me to tell you guys how I feel, going every day without seeing an African American, without dealing with them, how that kind of changes your perspective. And for me, it kind of made me realize something, and there's a lot to talk about and the things that I've realized. But I want to start with just my early days of coming to America, because you need to understand, when you live in Germany, I was raised in many small villages, you live a very peaceful, calm, protected, cultured life. And that was my life from birth to 14 years old. I was so innocent at 14. You see 14-year-olds now in America, they're already doing insane things like a 25-year-old. But for me, 14-year-old me, I was scared of the world. And I came to America, and I remember how scared I was because of the stories you hear. And normally the stories you hear aren't as bad as they make it seem, it's usually overblown. But when you live in Florida, when you live in America, places such as Tennessee, California, wherever, it's pretty much a big issue anywhere in America. Those things they say, they are true. And me going to middle school in Germany, in America, coming from Germany, I just have so many memories of insane things I saw. Just a quick little backstory, a little story that will stay with me for the rest of my life. So I went to a pretty bad school in Florida, middle school, African Americans, they're the popular ethnic group in a lot of places, especially in Florida where I was, brought to. And so in school, these are the popular people. It's the African Americans that talk back to the teachers, that curse, that don't really have respect for authority. That's what I grew up around with. And so we always had this hall monitor. He was this African American, whatever, black guy. He was always like making sure everything was okay. He was a real nice guy. Like, you could just tell he has a tough job. And let me tell you why he had such a tough job, because these people in the school always gave him so much shit. And all he wanted to do was prevent fights and prevent bullying and whatever else is happening. And one day in the lunchroom, now let me just give you an insight of a lunchroom in Florida. It's like a gray room, one big room, and it's just tables stacked lined up tables, and you can't move the seats, and you have to sit with your class, and you can't get up unless, it's almost like a jail, man. It's almost like a jail. And in this day at lunch, this wasn't the only time something like this happened, but this was the most drastic thing that I saw. Me being such a, I was so not used to this, guys. It was a lot for me. But one day I'm sitting at lunch, and all of a sudden I hear commotion. And I look across the lunchroom, and these two huge black girls, like some of these girls that are 14 already, they're just massive. They're like adults already with the growth hormones and the food that they get fed in America and all the shit that they eat. And so these two huge black girls are just fucking fist fighting. 14, 13 years old, but they're acting like grown fucking people. And they have the strength of it already at such a young age. And they're just fucking going at it, punching each other out. And this hall monitor comes. He's probably 40, 45 years old. And he tries to stop the fight. And all of a sudden, these black girls just start beating him up. 14, 13-year-old girls start beating up the hall monitor. Like punching him in the face, throwing him around. And he's just trying to stop this fight, and he has no chance. And that was crazy for me to see. And throughout my middle school and high school experience, it was pretty normal for fights to happen. Most of them being African Americans, just having no sense of what is right or wrong. It seems like it's really just another level of uncivilized. So with all these experiences I've had over the 10 years of living in America, you start to see things in a certain way. Now, did that ever just make me say I hate black people? No. But it did make me fear a certain type of black person, especially African Americans. The only time I ever heard gunshots in my life was when I moved to Nashville, into the not best area, and it is not safe to live there. I got my car stolen, all these things. I made a whole video about what I think about black Americans already in the past, but now it's kind of a certain different topic aspect of it that I want to talk about, because like I said, in Germany we don't have African Americans. And if you live in America, right now it's always trending like immigration, get them out of here, we don't want them. Mexicans, Hispanics, Muslims, they're all horrible, we want them out. It's the left and the right, all these things that you think about. And personally myself, I was also like, it's too many of them. It's a problem, there's violence, everything is out of control. America's turning into a damn shit show, a damn circus, worse than a circus of hell is really how America's turning out. And now that I live in Europe, and we don't have African American people, I begin to think that the reason that Mexican people, the reason that Muslims, the reason that even white people are becoming so different, so the way they are starting to behave now. Just take, for example, most Mexicans in America, parent-wise, they're very, very hardworking. They have so much respect and culture, and they come to America to do good. And I love those kind of people. They're just such happy, hardworking people, and I respect them. But then you see how a lot of kids are turning out now. They're turning out to act like black people, African Americans. The children are not hardworking as much anymore. They're not respecting where they came from and how easier their life is now. They're just causing chaos. And how I feel about that is the reason Muslims or Mexican, Spanish people are so violent in America now as well is because of African Americans. I think it is something that happens when you're young. Like I said, in school, African Americans in most places are the popular ethnic group, I would say. Personally, from my own experience, if you live in Wisconsin, Nebraska, or some crap, obviously that's not the case. But in popular big cities, Florida, Tennessee, California, just these certain places I've lived in, African Americans in school, they kind of run the show. They're popular, they play football, they play basketball, they play sports, they get the girls, they're premature, much younger, they do things much earlier than I do myself, because they're just, I don't know, different life. But so when there's a certain group that's so popular, of course you see these easily influenced younger people that want to act like them. And I even had that time of my life where I dressed very black, you would say. I had the Jordans on, the sweatpants, the, Chicago Bulls jersey on, imagine me wearing that now. I even went through that because that's where I was living. You think these people are cool, they're popular, I'm going to start dressing like them, I'm going to talk like them, I'm going to say the N-word casually. People do that a lot in America and Florida, white people, anything. And so I even went through that myself. And luckily, I left that. I got away from it. And now that I see, you know, how it can affect people, and how these kids that are Spanish, they all click in with the black people now. The white people want to be cool, they click in with the black people. And it's creating this society in America where eventually, generation through generation, if we don't understand that this is uncivilized, this is just unfathomable. Like, this just, I think sometimes, how can people think the way a lot of African Americans think? And it's really starting to affect Spanish people and white people. And living here in Germany now, the reason I don't really have a problem with immigrants is because there aren't any African American people here to influence them. I thought coming to Germany, I'd have a big problem like with all the Muslims and all the Turkish and all the blah, 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 blah. But it's not even like that. I've had zero problems with an immigrant in my 2 months here. They're super nice, they mind their business, they don't act up. It seems that they respect the culture that we have here in Germany, which is just be peaceful, be quiet, be respectful of, the people around you, public transport. I'm always in public transport. No one acts up the way I've seen African Americans act up in America. And so, just from my own thoughts and the things I've been contemplating, it's really a disease, the culture that African Americans bring in America. And it's just one of the reasons, it's a big reason, but also just one of the reasons why America is just completely going to shit. And to see how Spanish people are here, Muslim people are here, white people are here, it seems to not be an issue whatsoever. And I have no idea how this video comes across to you. Does it seem racist? Does it seem prejudiced? I don't know. That's such a big thing now, The first thing someone goes to is racism, prejudice, and all these things. So it's hard to talk about it. But can you just ignore what you're seeing day in and day out when you live in these places? What you experience? You can't. And so we all think it, but we don't say it. And what I don't like is that when people do say it, and they say it in a hateful way, that creates racism, that creates problems. I'm saying it in a way to just understand what is happening and what problems are happening, what the problems really are. But I'm not here saying I hate African Americans. I'm just saying that it is a problem. It is a big problem. And to see how African people here act, just civilized, like it's not even it is kind of crazy to think what a big deal it is in America, but then when you come to Europe and Germany, it's just like, just a normal person, a normal black person, just acting normal, being a normal person like everyone else. And so, I don't know. I'm sure you guys have your own thoughts. The one thing I just learned being in Europe is try not to be hateful. America, it's really easy to become hateful and just look at someone and think a certain way, which you can think a certain way, but don't act a certain way. Give everyone a chance. And definitely don't let it affect you and make you hateful. Don't get in the comments now and say fucking African Americans are the biggest problem in the world. They should all fucking be killed or go somewhere. That's not a solution. First let's identify the problem in a sophisticated manner, because it is a problem. It is a big problem. And then we can think about why do they act that way and can it even be fixed, because it's so many years of just getting worse and worse. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope my perspective clears something up. But if I am being honest, it's been very, very peaceful here. Very, very peaceful. A large part because there are not African Americans. And that's just the truth behind it. Peace out, guys.